I'm here today for Boom Television with Steve Green, UK Sales Manager for Brooks England Saddles in Smethwick. And we're in the very distinguished home of Brooks England. And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about what you do here and something about your history, please, Steve.
Okay. My role here is UK sales and events. Basically, I look after the UK production OEM partners, such as Pashley and Brompton, and a few other small frame builders, as well as looking after the after sales, if you like, people that buy a saddle from a cycle shop once they've got their bicycle. So we deal with distribution agents, which again I liaise with and keep everything smooth with those.
Can you just give us a bit of an idea of the scale of Brooks England? What sort of size are you? How many people do you employ? Your turnover?
We employ around about 40 people here in the UK, but we also have obviously overseas, that we have an office in Italy that's working for us as well.
You're owned by Italians?
We're owned by Italian for the past, since 2002, for the last 13 years or so. We've been owned by an Italian company, yes.
And what are they called?
They're called Selly Royal,
yes.
But they have they have separate divisions. So there is a Brooks England division within each group within Selly Royal has their own kind of identity, and there's a Brooks England identity in the Italian site. So there's around about 13, 14 people there in total, with salespeople around the world as well.
And what do they do, Selly Royal? What's their background?
Selly Royal also manufacture bicycle saddles, but they make the kind of plasticky and lightweight ones that a lot of the racing guys use, rather than the leather products that Brooks is more associated with.
Right, now Brooks England has a really distinguished history and heritage. In fact, you've just mentioned to me that you're going to be 150 years old next year.
That's right,
so
yes.
That's a real achievement for any business.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about the founding father of Brooks England?
Yeah, well, the company was founded by John Botby Brooks way back in 1866, when he came into Birmingham to try and make his fortune, and started trading up in the centre of Birmingham, doing kind of leather products and accessories mainly for the horse trade, which was fairly close by anyway in Warsaw. But in 1879 he had a little bit of misfortune that the horse that he would he would commute from back and forth from his home passed away, and he didn't feel he could afford to buy another horse at the time, so a friend of his lent him a bicycle. But of course, back in those days, bicycles were made from like wooden carved seats, and so a week or so into this new adventure of riding a bike, he decided that it was too painful to go on, and he decided to try and put some of his newly acquired leather skills into trying making something more comfortable.
So this was a case of what we might call these days cross-innovation, taking the skills of the leather and saddle trade and almost creating a new form of saddle for the bike, which itself was quite new at the time.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And obviously that proved the origins of a very long-standing business, Brooks England as it is today. He had great foresight, didn't he? Because I understand he patented many of his designs.
Indeed.
And amazingly, I understand from previous conversations with you that around 50% of your sales today still rely on designs from the 1800s.
That's right, yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of these long-standing bestsellers that still make up a good proportion of the range?
I mean, one of the longest-standing models that we've made and still making today is the B17 Standard here on the desk, which was like a year after that, which was going since about 1880. Yes. So, with very, very little change since then. There's been a few tweaks and changes to the frame, and but generally speaking, it's the same saddle that we were making back then, with more or less the same kind of processes in many cases.
Well, I mean, that is a remarkable story in itself, isn't it? That this saddle, the B17, still accounts for so many of your sales, and indeed that so much of it is still made in very much the same way. Yes. It's obviously a very, very handmade product, handcrafted product. Can you just tell us a little bit about the way this product is made and some of the processes, the key processes involved?
Well, I mean, the metal parts themselves are all made here from just flat pieces of steel or round pieces of wire. So we kind of bend and shape all these pieces of wire to make the rails here, and we weld the rails into the back plate there. Again, the back plate's stamped out using a big blanking press, flattened, and then it's curved round. So that's all using machinery that we've had here since about the 1950s. Most of the machines here now, they're really quite old machinery, some of the machines we've got. And then the most difficult part really is the leather, is forming the leather. That's kind of where a lot of the subjective rather than scientific skills are involved. Working with leather, it is kind of based on experience more than instruction, as it were. The operators there know exactly when and what to do with the leather at certain times. So we obviously start up with we only use generally English and Irish cattle because of the climate in the UK. It's quite harsh, and it produces the hardy finish that we need for the leather. And it only really comes from the back of the cow, down from the shoulder blades down to the rump. As you get towards the shoulder blades, it becomes too thin, and round to the belly it becomes too soft. So we use a big sheet called a butt to make that, and then we cut out the basic shape using like pastry cutters, if you like, and then we start to three-dimensionalise the shape by soaking the leather into some water to make it more flexible, pliable.
So there's a huge amount of craft skills and specialist skills in that process itself, really.
Yeah.
And as you say, much of it is very tacit, personal to those particular craftspeople that you have outside.
Exactly.
I wonder if we can just also look at this saddle. This, I think you said, was the B66.
This is a B66. Also, a very, very long-standing model that we've produced here in the factory. Again, a very popular model for tourists around the world. The springs on the back here. We make the springs from wire, as with a little bag loop to put a bag on. So, and the brackets, even the clip, even the little clamp we make here from scratch, from just straight wire. So we do tend to make most of our things from wire.
And the final process of putting the saddle together has a particular term, springing up.
Yes. The final mechanical operation of of every leather saddle is the springing up operation, where we have to try and account for the fact that the leather will stretch over time, and it needs to be under constant tension. So we put a little pin in the front there so when the leather starts to stretch, we can move that little nut down a little bit to compensate for this stretch and to take any sag and slackness out of the assembly.
And obviously, clearly there has been a massive amount of innovation in Brooks, despite the great longevity of these particular designs. Can you just tell us a little bit about how the range has moved on? This one, I understand, is the Swallow. Tell us a little bit about this one.
The Swallow, basically, again, it's a saddle that we have made for a while, but it's relatively new in Brooks' history. But it's more of a kind of road bike, racing bike kind of saddle, and again, it's quite intricate in the fact that we've folded part of the flap down here to put a little patent plate in there to show that we've painted this pattern, and the wires here are particularly. It's one of the only models we have where we deliberately show all the rails beneath the leather, and it's more of a modern design, if you like.
Very sleek, isn't
sleek,
it?
Yes.
Aerodynamic looking. And obviously your latest innovation is this new saddle over here, the Cambium.
Yes,
I think you introduced this, about 2 years ago?
2 years ago, we kind of made this kind of bold step away from leather to try and... we wanted to keep with natural products as much as we could, natural materials as much as we could. So we went for a cotton cover, an organic cotton cover, which is bonded to a rubber base here, so we get the flexibility that riders would associate from a well-worn in kind of Brooks saddle anyway. So it doesn't mould like a leather saddle would, but it has got this flexibility. And again, it's a very modern looking saddle, and it's appealing to a lot of riders that wouldn't normally have associated their bike with a Brook. So it fits on very modern, very distinct
There's
bikes.
quite a lot of innovation in this one, isn't there, in terms of the materials? I mean, you referred obviously to the natural cotton on the top. Tell us about the covering, the coating on the cotton.
The coating on the cotton, obviously we've tried to make this a little bit more maintenance free than a leather saddle that needs a lot of TLC, especially in wet and rainy conditions in the UK. So we've made this one more waterproof by coating the final cotton with a coating that makes it water resistant, water repellent, so the water will run away. So this saddle basically is a saddle that you can leave outside while you can commute to work in it and leave the bike outside all day and just come out of the office of an evening, wop it over and get back on it and still ride. Whereas with a leather saddle, you'd probably need to put a little cover over there to protect it from the rain more so than these.
Yeah, now you have something of a cult following in terms of your customer base, don't you? And enormously fashionable brand, Brooks England. What kind of people, are there many groups of segments of customers that you see?
We do have a really kind of strong and loyal kind of following. Yes, I mean we have the long distance tourists is one group that the people that do these land to John O'Groats or even further. We have a distinct group that have been going around the world basically on a bicycle saddle, and they've been using Brooks. So we've got the long distance guys. We've got a little group, a little segment that do the bike polo. So that's quite an important kind of role for us as well. They tend to use one of the heavy duty saddles that can bash about. And of course we have got with the modern styles you saw earlier, we have got kind of a lot of road racers and Audax riders that go out just for a day's ride.
But when I'm down in London, I see many people around the city, and they're all very proud of their Brooks England logos on their saddles. So you obviously have a big urban customer base.
Yes, we do.
Well.
I mean, based with our association with our two big UK producers, Pashley and Brompton, we do get a lot of commuters, especially in London. As you say, a lot of people in London use Brompton, and a lot of people around the country basically use Pashleys and Brompton to get around, and they're quite handy to get around, around town and into work and stuff. So they do tend to associate Pashley and Brompton with a Brooks. So
well, I think there's a real cachet in having a bike with a Brooks England saddle, and anybody is really proud to be able to display that brand. And through that great brand recognition that you've built over the 149 years to date, you've obviously diversified again in recent years, the last 5 or 6 years, into accessories. And I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit, because you had this enormous design catalogue, back catalogue, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
From the sort of John Boltby Brooks era onwards, which has been meticulously kept and maintained, and it's a fascinating thing to look at. Can you tell us how you've been able to, mine the archive to produce some amazing new accessories today?
Yes, I mean right up till like the early 80s, Brooks were making a lot of accessories as well as just the saddles. We're making a lot of bags and a lot of things like toe clips and toe straps and generally other, generally cycling associated accessories, and that kind of all fell away for a while. But it's really down to the introduction of the coming in of Cellular Oil and particularly one of our marketing directors, Andrea Meneghelli, who, as you say, has meticulously looked back through all the archive catalogues and tried to bring back a lot of these products into the range, respecting the heritage of the brand and just giving a lot of these things just a modern kind of update so that they're suitable for the 21st century cyclist.
I mean, I think you said to me in the past that the whole retro trend at the moment has been very positive for Brooks England, but also that Andrea Meneghelli has seen value in the heritage and the archives, perhaps where others may not have done.
Yes, that's true. I mean, you know, as you say, we had so many items, you know, in back catalogues and things that were really, very good items. You know, and they deserve to be kind of relaunched and brought back. And Andrea's looked at those, and with his design team over in the Italian office, they've worked through different. Some of the things they've tried didn't work, and they didn't put them out. But in a lot of cases, they've tried to bring back some of these things into the market. And a lot of Brooks people recognise these products from the past, and they're really kind of happy that they're back, and they're proving really popular.
And recently, your latest venture has been to open a shop in Covent Garden. How's that going then?
Yes, the Covent Garden shop has been open just over 12 months now. It opened in November of 2013.
Yes, are you getting great footfall? How is your customer base reacting to that?
Yes, I mean, it's taken a while to get kind of established and known. I mean, the initial kind of 6 months or so, it was a lot of tourists and passing trade, more so. But now that a lot of the keen cyclists are getting aware that the shop is there, the kind of balance is shifting now. There's a lot more kind of the loyal customer base that goes in there, that the hardcore cyclists going in there, and business is growing, and it's nice to have it's nice to have a store where someone can go in and see every Brooks product
well, I was going
on
to
display, whereas in most retail stockists that's not possible, because the value of the stock is so high that a lot of stockists just won't be able to put that much space and that much money into stock in the shop.
Well, indeed, I was going to say that one of the things that must give you is an awful lot of direct customer feedback and intelligence that perhaps selling through distributors, as you otherwise are around the world, you haven't perhaps had the benefit of in the past.
Yes, that's exactly right. I mean, we talk to dealers and shopkeepers, and they give us their feedback, but at the same time, you're kind of relying on, in some respect, their opinion or their thought, and sometimes they come a little bit pessimistic, and so we've put things into the B1866 shop which stockists and dealers said they couldn't sell, and we've basically sold them. So it shows sometimes that going direct to the customer is probably more useful.
Yes, and you've got this tradition of innovation. Colour is something that we perhaps don't see in front of us today, but you have a great range of colour, which is always magnificent to look at, and no doubt in your shop you can show to great effect. Tell us, as we wrap up this interview, what great innovations can we be looking for over the next year, and especially as we enter the 150th year for Brooks England? What can your ardent customer base look forward to?
Okay, I mean we have, as I say, we have looked at different colours and things, and we do like to do different colours, because it kind of intrigues customers, and especially on limited edition runs, we like to do every time. I mean, there are some. We are once again this year sponsoring the famous L'Eroica ride, which is going to take place in Italy, in Tuscany, in October. There's also going to be a British version which started last year in the Peak District. And there's possibly going to be one or two other destinations for this race this year, or this ride this year. So we are again looking at bringing out some special edition saddles to celebrate that, with some special markings, special colours, and again we always are looking at bringing out at least 2 or 3 new things every year to kind of excite the palate of our consumers. So we are looking at, there are always things kind of in the back room being worked on, at any time. So we're looking at possibly some helmets. We've even dabbled about doing some rubber leather pedals, things like this. So we are always looking at new accessories.
Yes.
Some of them take a while to get through. Some of them get through fairly quickly. But obviously, it's important that we test and trial all these things before we put them out onto the market, to make sure that they're going to be successful.
I know you've got a tremendously loyal staff here. and tell us a little bit about some of the staff. Do they relate their favourite products or their favourite aspects of production, or is there anything? I know they're very loyal and very committed to the product range.
The workforce here in the factory in Smethwick, you know, are very proud of what they do and very loyal to the brand, and a lot of them have got a lot of years service in. I mean, a couple of ladies out there have. One's been here for more than 40 years, another lady's been here almost 40 years, but a lot of people, a lot of the workforce have been here kind of at least 10, 15 years, so that, you know, you come here and you tend to stay, because it's, you know, the product is really great, and also because, you know, it's just a great working atmosphere, and we feel like we're a working family, as it were.
Well, it's certainly a great pleasure to talk to you today and to hear something about the inspiring range that you have nurtured and evolved over the years. And I do remember last time I was walking around the factory, people telling me about the characters of the machines, and
yes.
The machines are obviously that produce these saddles are as much loved, I think, and members of the family as many
yes,
of the people working here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the machines are, as I say, are way back to the 50s. They're temperamental, to say the least, and it does take a lot of patience for some of the guys out there to make sure they keep running every day. And I mean, Brooks could come in and reinvest and bring new machinery in, but it would kind of lose this kind of hand-built feel. I mean, we like to make the saddles the way that they've been made in those days, and we feel it kind of gives it a little bit more character when you see the saddle at the end of the day, that it's, you know, it's been cut by hand and things like this. And
it's certainly the authenticity, isn't
yes.
it, that your customers value so much,
yes.
and that they mould as they use them over the years themselves. So thank you very much indeed, Steve. Very good to speak with you again.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Beverley.
you.